Welcome back, everybody. I'm just going to drop some links real quick. All right, so welcome back to the Leon Block. Tonight, I want to just real quick touch on something that I saw. A lot of the topics here can stem from posts that I see others put up on Facebook or Twitter, and I wanted to talk about a post that a friend of mine's put up pertaining to sex and celibacy. Uh, and Where is this post at? Goodness. Sex is bigger than a satisfying moment. It's more than money. It's deeper than you and them. I can't be the only one refraining from sex because I just do not have the time for games nor bullshit. I'll be sexless, but I'll still have my respect, and I deserve that. We all do. And you know what? I felt that. I am not practicing celibacy, but I did recently, and it was nice. It is something that I think is very beneficial and well needed, depending on where you are in your life. And sometimes it gets a bad name, or people that are practicing celibacy at a certain time in their life are automatically thought of as prudes, or someone who's stuck up, or someone who doesn't want romance or doesn't want to date. And none of those are true at all. Someone who may be practicing celibacy at the time may just be going through a transitional period, or they just don't feel like having sex, or they don't feel like anyone is worthy of their body, and any of those things are perfectly okay. Or whatever other reasons you have, if you don't feel like drinking, just because you don't feel like drinking, it's the same thing. Why should you have to explain to someone why you don't want to have sex, or why you're not having sex with people? It's like, if you're not drinking, or if you're not actively having sex, and there's like something wrong with you socially or something, and that's, to me, it's unacceptable. And so why do I have Lauryn Hill, everything is everything? It just puts me in a mindset of like what we're talking about tonight. Everything is everything. After winter must come spring. Change comes eventually. There are always changes in different seasons of your life. And sometimes during those seasons, some people take a vow of celibacy, and there's nothing wrong with that. And in today's landscape, it can be especially hard to either have casual dates, or to just not have sex at all with anyone you're dating until you get into a relationship. It's hard, especially in the queer world. It's especially hard, you know. So I just think that sex is something that we should be talking about more, or even lack thereof. It is important. It's especially important when it comes to relationships, you know. And I think it's perfectly okay when you get to a certain point in your life to want to just, if you feel like refraining from sex, there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't necessarily feel like refraining from sex completely, but you just refrain from sex from just general situations and you're filling out the energy, there's nothing wrong with that either. You know, that's kind of where I was. Like, I don't feel the need to hook up, but if the chemistry's right, I might. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not going out there looking for it. I'm looking for general connections with people. And in this landscape, in today's landscape, it's really hard to find. Either like you find a really good sexual partner that gives you really good sex, but they're a dickhead or an asswipe, or like you get the relationship and the sex is really bad, or like all these things in between. I think a lot of people get so hung up on all the intricacies of things and not really thinking about like the intimacy part of it or the spiritual part of it or the connections that you might have pre and post and during sex, all of it, not just that one moment that you're in the heat of the moment, like my friend was discussing that led us into this whole discussion, right? So there's an article that I posted about sex and spirituality, and it says I received, the author here is pretty interesting, and I'm going to give their opinion on things and break down the three different types of sex that they want to explain here. I received a large number of queries from seekers who are unclear about the role of sex on the path of spirituality. They wonder if practicing celibacy is necessary for self realization, if abstinence is a prerequisite to attain that transcendental state. I have been meaning to write on this for months, but the mounting number of queries on this issue nudged me to cover this important topic today, albeit briefly. Interestingly, most religions, all major ones anyway, are bullish, if not downright rigid, about continence. Practitioners, protectors, priests, and preachers of such religions are expected, if not required, to be celibates and lay their great emphasis on seekers to practice it too. Well, that is their opinion, and I do not wish to judge them. My focus today is not religion, it is spirituality. Religion is one, only just one of the means to experience spirituality. You may want to read about formation of attitude in spirituality in order to help you build your own viewpoint. Let me offer you four perspectives on sexuality. Again, you can check out this link to this article in the comments below on Facebook. And again, I will add them to YouTube later on. The first one is the Vedic perspective on sex and spirituality, from, for example, the Bhagavad Gita, which is this whole article. I'm not going to get into everything. I just kind of want to run through it really quick. Number two is the yogic perspective. Three is the tantric perspective. And then four is his own perspective. I have already stated my take on the three perspectives. However, let me offer you my explicit viewpoint on the present topic. You got your body because your parents engaged in an act of love. You came out of the womb of your mother and were latched to her breast the moment you were born. Sexuality is the basis of your physical existence. It is part of your being. It is as sacred as your love for God and as vital as your breath. Some of the greatest yogis, sages, seers were married. They lived in their hermitages, but they had consorts. This is the path recommended by the Vedas: slow and steady, go with nature. If you gain inner strength, if you become a better, more compassionate, kinder, more loving person by practicing celibacy, you should continue with continence in that case. However, if you are married and have developed this obscure idea of abstinence being a shorter route to divinity, I am sorry to disappoint you, but this is going to be a futile exercise. It is going to lead you nowhere near God. As part of strengthening your resolve or certain practices that may last a certain duration, you may practice abstinence, but beyond that, I hope you have a very good reason. Regardless of whether you're 17 or 70, do not be scared of your sexual thoughts. Do not react at such thoughts. Do not label them. Thoughts are just thoughts. Intrinsically, they are devoid of any essence. If, for whatever reason, known only to you, you wish to stay away from physical intimacy, all you have to do is not pay attention to your thoughts. They will leave you in no time. Unless you are able to maintain your meditative state at all times, you will have hard time staving them off forever, though. Sexuality is innate in every moving creature that breathes. Some of the greatest inventors, finest minds, geniuses, poets, world's most successful people peace workers, those who have influenced millions of others, were they celibates? Physical love, whether expressed by a gesture or a simple peck or a passionate kiss, eating together or making love, it is an extension and outward expression of your inner being, your feelings. It completes any intimate relationship. And when channelized, sexuality transforms into love. When untamed, it becomes lust. And that last paragraph kind of encompasses everything that I'm trying to explain here, because you can be celibate, which is, ideally when people think of celibacy, they think of you're not having sex. You're not having any physical interaction, but you can still touch someone. You can still, breathe on them. You can still hug, like you're just not doing, the things. But, you know, sexuality, it's in everything. You really can get so much more. It's like when they say, like, if you're deaf or if you're blind, your other senses get stronger to make up for the lack of that. I think that's kind of what happens when you're celibate. Like, you're not focusing on the sex or the physicality of it. You start focusing on all the other things that make up, let's say, that person you might be exclusively dating, or the different people that you might be casually dating. And different from, like, say you just had a whole bunch of fuck buddies. You only know them for the physicality that you have with them. They all might be dickheads and you can't stand their asses, but you love the sex. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, because you're making connections in that sense as well. But on the other side of it, don't shame someone that is practicing and choosing to be celibate, because that is another side of exploring who they are without the physical touch and physicality of, without the sex of it. You can still be physical, you can still hug people, you can still have intimacy being celibate. And I think that is very important. I think that if that is the path that you're taking and you have success with that, please keep going. Please continue your celibacy until you feel as though it's right and you found the person to, knock your socks off your fucking feet. But if you're just fucking and sucking all around and clucking all around town, like, and that's giving you life and you get power and energy from that, do that too. I'm not knocking you. It's okay to be a hoe when you feel it's all right for you to be a hoe. It's yin yang here, and whatever works for someone works for them. Is what works for you is cool. Like, don't judge people though. Don't knock people for what they choose to do. If someone chooses to be a virgin, don't knock them. If someone chooses to be celibate, don't knock them. If someone chooses to be a hoe, don't knock them. If someone chooses to be a sex worker, a porn star, don't fucking knock them. If someone chooses to have an OnlyFans, don't knock them. Point blank and period. So that's kind of what I wanted to get to when it comes to, like, sex and celibacy, right? And again, you can check those articles out in the comments on Facebook if you're watching through Facebook. YouTube, I will add to it later. And so the last thing I really want to talk about is the dating app drama and how it can be very hard to practice celibacy when you're navigating those things, and who does anyway. Like, like, for example, Grindr, I know it's a lot of hooking up and sex, and, like, it's very hard to find and attain dates off of there. And I wonder what it's like for heterosexuals. Like, when they go on dating apps, are they finding a lot of hookups too, or are they going on casual dates, or are they having, like, no luck at all? I'm really curious about that. If you're straight and you're watching, drop it in the comments and let me know what it's like for you and your experience. But again, if you are celibate and you're trying to meet people, are you going on dating apps? How are you meeting people? How are you forming organic, platonic, and intimate vibes vibes and connections with people? I would like to know, specifically for people of color, because in our day and age, it's even harder to find other people of color that are either one of the other of any of those scenarios. You want to be a hoe, you want to be celibate, you want to be a virgin, any of those things. In the black and brown world, it is extremely hard, because I mean, society already over-sexualizes everything as it is, but they over-sexualize things even more when it comes to black and brown people, because our cultures, we come from a lot of places where it's hot. We do a lot of dances We dress a lot of in a lot of clothes that white people might find risque or tell us to cover up. We tend to have body types that are a little more accentuated in places that might make others feel uncomfortable, I should say. And that's just naturally who we are. And so I am also curious to know like what other people within BIPOC demographics feel about their difficulties navigating celibacy, navigating platonic dating, casual dating, and exclusive dating. I'm excluding relationships from this conversation because that's a whole nother topic when it comes to abstaining. But when it comes to celibacy, I'm really curious to know what people's feelings are as far as black and brown goes and navigating the landscape. So tell me what your thoughts are concerning this, y'all. I really actually would like to know. Oh, nah, you good, love. For me, I mean, I try to be very respectable and I try to be upfront with what I want. And I try to be very clear. I'm looking for dates, friends, networking, and I'm not looking for sex, but I'm not opposed to it. Don't hit me up with what's up. Don't hit me up with pictures of your nudes. If you do, I might look at it, but I'm not going to respond to it. Don't. That's where I'm at right now. And so I'm not practicing celibacy, but I also am very open to abstaining because I think that it's also important for me personally. And I will reiterate, judging is not okay. And I think at least within BIPOC communities, judging can be extra harsh when it comes to celibacy. This is just my experience and my opinion. I remember seeing this episode of the Wayans Brothers. Yes, I'm showing my age right now. I was a kid, but when I asked my elders questions, they gave me honest answers. And there was this one episode with Sean and Marlon. I think it was Sean that was dating this girl and he was really into her. And I guess he was trying to, dip in her pants, but she told him she was a virgin. And then it just became this whole thing. The episode was all about her being a virgin. Like, oh, she's a virgin. What? She's so pretty. Why is she a virgin? And I don't know. I was like maybe 8, 9, 10. I'm like, Mom, what's a virgin? And she told me, she's like, it's a person that hasn't had sex. And I was like, oh, so then, then the whole perspective of the episode made sense to me and I was able to understand what was going on. But immediately in my head is like, why are you treating her like she's completely different simply because she chooses not to have sex? And just because you find her attractive. I didn't feel like that was okay at that age. And so again, it was the Wayans Brothers, and that was a show that was heavily immersed in Black culture, Black topics. It was a microcosm of the discussions and things that were going on at the time. All the sitcoms of the 90s always touched on hot topics that were going on at those times. And that was they made very clear to me. So I'm just very curious what others people's thoughts are. Do you have any memories of similar topics and situations where you were introduced to things like this, whether it's virginity or abstinence or celibacy, and your thoughts on it and how you viewed it at that time and how you view it now, and whatever point you're at now? Because I think that it's always important to express where you're at that point in time, because not only do you know what you want, You're being vocal to others about what what you expect and what you want from them, you know? So I think that really just wraps up everything I wanted to say that I had on my mind. Shout out to Corey Porter, aka Delane Porter on Facebook. Yes, I'm shouting your ass out for the hot topic of the night. Again, his quote was, sex is bigger than a satisfying moment. It's more than money. It's deeper than you and them. I can't be the only one refraining from sex because I just do not have the time for games nor bullshit. I'll be sexless, but I'll still have my respect and I deserve that. We all do. You deserve whatever you want and wish and desire, Corey. And it's important to know your worth, know where you are at point in times in your life and go for it. I don't care what you do, be authentically you and get your life.